Well, hey everybody, it's HeapCVA. Welcome back to my channel. If you've been here before, if you haven't been here before, welcome double much. Hope you like what you see. Yes, we're in EmergeNYC again. It's 2 days after update 0.2.8 came out. I debated with myself if I was even going to put anything out. I don't have a good excuse. I just thought it may be better if I just left it alone for right now till something came out that was more, made the people on the forums settle down a little bit. But I came up with something to do outside of this because it's a very short list. I don't even think there's 10 items on the list for this update that needs to be addressed. I've been asked many times. There's plenty of questions on the forums for it. And I just wanted to kind of lay out what I do and kind of my suggestions. So let's get right into the list. It came out. I'm looking at the Twitter version. The messages are all the same. Doesn't matter if you go to Steam or Twitter. He talked about some new things, some noticeable things, addressing low FPS, Central Park things. He did a little optimization, which is good, but it can't all be done because things change daily. There's the lights, the street lights. I'm going to change the weather because the rain is just going to make things tough for us to see. So it'll slow down here in a minute. I'm going to go to 8 o'clock in the morning. I wish you could freeze traffic or time just for a split second. Anyway, talked about street lights, traffic lights, and lighting ambience, which I'll talk about. And they expect to have more stuff done in the next time they put out a Sunday update. And I'm not going to say it the way he does on that note, because then I can't say that there's definitely going to be another update come out this next Sunday. That would be foolish. And honestly, for Flip Switch, it's foolish. Not just me, for them too. They got to quit promising things on certain days, because when something goes wrong and they can't deliver, the natives go wild on the forums and they get beat for it. And I don't know why people would want to do that over and over again. So let's get back on course here. Let's talk about these in order, and we'll look at them, and then I want to get into my next thing I want to talk about. So on the changelog, traffic lights and street lights throughout the map. You're sort of seeing it. Let's zoom in a little bit. Here's a street light. Here's a street light with a traffic light attached to it. If we zoom out, you notice that the street lights create a little bit of a lighting on the street. Okay? Keep that in mind. The traffic lights are lit. Of course, I'm facing the wrong way, but just trust me that the lights are lit. Most of them cycle correctly. There's a couple that just flash red and green both at the same time. And do the lights work to control traffic? No. What I've seen so far is that when you get the green light, if you were at this intersection and you had traffic coming through here and you're at red and you're waiting for green to pull out, when you have green and you start to pull out, all the vehicles from the other traffic get a green light too, so you all meet right in the middle of the street. Obviously something that needs to be addressed. Number 2 is low FPS options on the left side of the screen. And so I'm going to go over here on the street, and if right underneath the weather control is a very small thing with a click or a checkbox. If I check that, it turns the rest of them on, and you see 6 choices. There's spotlights, which I'll just clue you in right now. That's the street lights. And then the apparatus. Now, why is that important? Well, right now, because this is a new map and the things in it are new, there are still issues. Now, he optimized some things, but there are other things that are going to have to be slowly optimized over time. Every time you add new lighting to this demo, it looks like it really takes them a while to figure out how to get it to not beat everybody's frame rates to death. And so while I say that, let me show you how I'm running this game right now. Not to brag, but I did it for a reason, and it'll be clear, I hope, to you here just a second. But let me open this up, go over. I have this on the highest game quality setting, which is fantastic. That's not a claim, that's just the word. I have anti-aliasing at X2. AT, I don't pronounce that word there. It's something Tropic Textures, is disabled. The full resolution, I've tried it on and off and I don't see a difference. So I leave it on. VSync count, I always have it off because the monitor I have would conflict with VSync. I have real-time reflections enabled. Honestly, I've never seen a difference one way or the other. I disable shadows. I'll tell you why in a minute. And that the next two are related to this one, and if your shadows are disabled, these two commands don't do anything. I don't touch the sliders. And then down here, dynamic lighting radiation enabled is checked currently, and I don't have the rear view mirrors on because it causes issues and it's actually caused a couple of crashes. So that's where I'm at as I talk to you about this, and I'm at about 50 frames per second. Lighting really plays havoc with graphics because it has to be redrawn constantly as you move through a scene. Everything is redrawn constantly as you move through a scene. When we're playing this tech demo, we aren't standing still. It's moving. Everything is moving. And so as it redraws, that keeps that system very busy. With the new lighting, which adds load to the graphics system, there are issues. And for people that were on the ragged edge of being able to play the demo anyway, just the street lights could have been enough to really affect their ability to actually start the game or have any playable frames so that it doesn't drive them crazy. Here's the first thing you can try if you're having trouble to give yourself some frames, collect them back so you can use them in the tech demo. The first thing, and we'll go over on the street because just a little bit of contrast. The very first one is spotlights. That has to do with the street lights. If we turn those, check them off, notice how the street got darker and it's almost a little more natural light. But if you look in the upper right hand corner, I jumped up to 80 frames per second with one click. And that tells me that a lot of work needs to be done. And you don't need the street lights to drive the vehicles and put the ladders up and drive the police cars and drive the ambulances. It's just, nice to have, not need to have. It's just for show. And yeah, when it's dark outside, it's nice to have them. But in the end of the day, right now, in this tech demo, do you want to be able to fool around with the tech demo, or do you want your frames and your lag to be so bad that you just turn it off and shake your head and walk away? So my first thing is uncheck the spotlights and just don't worry about it for now. Now these others, if you don't know what they do, obviously everything that has lights on creates a load on your GPU. If I turn engine 30 off, poof, he's gone. I actually jumped up to 90 frames, almost 100. But if I turn 30 back on, they come back into the 80s, which is about right. Like I said, if you can get anything from 60 and above, you're doing really good. So that's that. Low FPS options, we talked about, like I said. Really all that the bottom 5 are doing is hiding these, if you will. The top one, the number 1 checkoff, is the most important for people struggling right this minute. It's the first easy thing to try. Number 3, headlights now have radiation. I'm going to tilt just a little bit and zoom in. And the police car is the hardest to see. but you can see that the headlights are casting a light onto the street, which apparently they didn't do before. I guess I never paid attention. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. You can't turn that off. All right, updated Central Park model. Let's zoom out. We happen to be tilted in the right direction. We're going to sneak right over here, and this is as good as I'm going to get. Baseball diamond has the fence for the backstop. The road that's subterranean has a fence along the wall. This is a bad angle. Obviously, you can barely see the fence. It's along here, so you can't drive one of the vehicles over and do jumps and stuff like that. Over here at the pond, they redid the water. It's a little more realistic. It's got a lot of radiated, reflection to it. And they put a fence around the pond. So that's that. They fixed the Central Park terrain and vegetation. The biggest thing was grass growing on the street. I haven't seen any of that in the last 2 days. And the trees seem to be put where they belong. There's none growing out of the streets. There's none growing out of the sidewalks. They're not in the way of operating a vehicle on the roads inside the park. Seems to be working pretty good. Last time I checked, the bridges still give the trash truck and the delivery truck, not fire apparatus, but the regular traffic, they still cannot get under here. And they will get stuck if you wait long enough. Just so you know, in case you wanted to watch that little circus. And I'm going to go back to 8 o'clock because I like the lighting so you guys can see. So I'm going to back out, go back to this intersection because, like I said, I don't need to go very far to discuss this particular update. Added headlight emissions to all FDNY and EMS vehicles. I think, and I can't tell you for sure, I'm guesstimating. I don't talk to this guy. He doesn't know me from the man on the moon. Is that we're talking about all the radiation or radiated light images that come off of the lights when they're on. So you see the fuzziness around the flashing lights. You see the emission of the headlights. It's all part of the same thing. He either said the same thing twice with different wording, or he alluded to the similar things, but wanted to make sure you knew that it was all the fire department vehicles and all of the ambulances. I think police already kind of had some of that going. You can actually see the lights lighting up the asphalt all the way around the vehicle on the, I keep forgetting what they call the police version. No, that's not what I want. I want that, but I want to go back. The Discoverer. Say that fast 5 times. Holy cow. Anyway, so that's what I think is being meant there. Added radiation to St. Luke's ambulance lights. Let's zoom in on St. Luke's, as he says. How come it says St. Mook's on the side? I think he meant to say St. Mook's. He didn't. You can definitely see a lot of light radiation from the side and rear lights. You can see it going across the top of the vehicle. That's what that addresses. Fixed siren and horn bug on several vehicles. Engine 49, ladder 68, engine 78, rescue 9. If you drove past those stations, a horn would start going off and it would grow in intensity, and as you went past and further away from those 2 stations, it would drop off and disappear. That was a pain in the rear end, and it appears to be fixed for the time being. And so if you drive past those stations or use any of the vehicles in those stations, you're not going to have that problem. And the last thing they did is he changed the design of the weather UI, which is this little beauty over here. I didn't have an issue with it before. He changed it. Let's talk about it for a split second. Again, I'm trying to find some contrast for it. If you're having trouble with FPS, take your weather effect quality and your cloud quality, move them all the way to the left, uncheck fog, and uncheck shadows. I think it's unchecked. That should get you a few FPS. Is it going to make it perfect? No. But every little bit counts when your computer is at the lower end of the scale to make this tech demo work. So try that out. So that's the list quickly. If you have the tech demo, go in and see what you see and see if I caught everything. I do see some things out of place. The street lights aren't working 100%. The street signals aren't working perfectly. I've seen a couple of street lights out in the street, off the corner, and literally out into the crosswalk. It's just stuff that has to be taken care of. It's just housekeeping, so to speak. And so that's that in a nutshell. So let me move on to the other thing I wanted to cover, and hopefully I won't take too long because I'm at 15 minutes. So I want to talk about what I would want to talk about and not blow through the next 15 minutes and go over too far. I see a lot of people talking about, and I've been asked about, why does this game play so bad on my computer? I can play other games. Why can't I play this? So let me address that first, and then we'll get into some pointers on what you might be able to do. Number one, I've seen it, and they use this one game more than any other. I think it's because it has a mod where you can be a fire department. But that's Grand Theft Auto 5. I think it's 5. It's V. I guess that's the thing for the number 5. They say this. I turn on the tech demo because it's not a game. If you're calling it a game, you're not correct yet. This is not a game yet. It is a tech demo where you can drive some of the vehicles. And you have it on the highest setting like I do. Remember, over here, we're still at 80 FPS. I'm at fantastic, and you start bumping all these other things up. You turn everything on, and you get started, and you're driving the fire engine, and one of the things that happens when there's lag in this game is all of a sudden a fire engine starts turning like a battleship. Not a good thing. And so you have to really slow down and start turning early. Well, a lot of people, instead of lowering their settings down to try to compensate, just automatically assume that this quote-unquote game is broken because it doesn't play on their computer, but Grand Theft Auto 5 will. What those people are doing is comparing apples and oranges, and obviously they're not the same thing. This is a early beta of hopefully what'll look like a game somewhere down the road. It's not 100% optimized. It's got a lot of issues. It's got a long way to go. Grand Theft Auto has been out for a minimum of a year. Actually longer, but I'm just being conservative. It's gone through many stages to get where it's at. It did have problems in its beginning, and it's to the point where there's actually mods being added to it now. They are not the same thing. You can't compare one to the other. It's not fair to yourself, and it's not fair to Flip Switch that you try to compare those two together, because they're not the same. And actually, that would be a false statement. Sorry. So now that's out of the way. I feel so much better. I don't mean to offend anybody, but it had to be said. Let's talk about what I think you can try to do right this minute. Number one, I don't know what kind of computer you have, whether you're using a laptop or a desktop. And I'm not going to use my computer as a reference point because it may not be fair in a comparison to what you have at your house. But regardless of what you have, there's a couple things you can do up front before you ever double click on EmergeNYC. Make sure you have minimum of an i3 if you have Intel or AMD. It's the same level as an i3. Better would always be, a bigger CPU would always be better. You have room on your hard drive to install the tech demo, plus extra space so that programs can swap in and out of the hard drive. You should have at least 4 gigs of memory. More would be better. I have 16. 8, it seems to be a really nice sweet spot. That if you have a video card, that's awesome. But if you don't, you're going to have to fool with the settings in your integrated Intel video. I think AMD has the same thing. To get something that'll work. And that's something you're going to have to play with before you even start the tech demo. But let's say you've done all that and you got it to that point. Make sure that any extra programs that are running in the background that you don't need for the time that you're going to be in EmergeNYC are shut off. They do reserve stuff that you may need to be in the tech demo with. So I'm going to light this up again because I just don't like it getting dark. So now we're in the tech demo, and the first thing you get is the screen with the pictures of the game and stuff. There's that gear similar to this, only it's bigger on that page, and it has some changes that you can make in it. I don't think it's 100% exact to this one. And theoretically, you should be able to change to fantastic setting on that one, apply and close, start the tech demo, and your settings will carry through. I have found that not to be 100% true. So the first thing I would recommend is don't use that outside thing to change the settings. Wait till you get into the tech demo and then click on this thing up here and make your changes from inside the tech demo. And if you take your time, don't fast click these arrows. I've crashed this game more times than I can count. Or I hang it and I have to restart. Fantastic is the top. Fastest is the lowest quality that's in this tech demo. This number here is just whatever size your monitor is, and it actually looks for it first. Anti-aliasing. It's a tough thing to describe, but let's just say that the higher the number after the X, and it goes in like 2, 4, 16, 8, 16, puts more stress on your graphics. So I keep mine at X2 because this game is actually rendered pretty well even at low settings. And I want the frame rates. So I'm still in 80s right now, and I want that as much as I can get it. The next one is anisotropic textures or something like that. I have that disabled. I had it disabled in Call of Duty. I've had it disabled in just about every game I own. I don't know what it does. I'm sure it's just an improvement on given things that are in the game. And like in a first-person shooter, whether your camo on the uniform you're wearing is perfect or it's a little fuzzy around the edges or anything, that doesn't bother me. And what I'm doing is the things that I really don't need desperately for the tech demo, I'm turning off to keep my frame rates up. Next one down is texture quality. I don't touch it because I've tried doing stuff with it and nothing changed. So I'm just leaving it alone for now. The next one down is VSync count. Here's my perception of what VSync does to you. And every game I own has it, so I know it exists quite across most every game that I own. VSync caps your frames per second at what your monitor can handle. I've also heard that it caps FPS at 60, which used to be the highest frame rates that monitors could handle. Now, obviously, mine can handle 144 frames per second. So VSync doesn't do me any good because it would cap me at almost half. So I keep it off unless I need it. I haven't needed it for this tech demo. You shouldn't need it either. You want all the frames you can get your happy little hands on. Real-time reflection is enabled because it's another one of those that I have not observed a tremendous amount of effect on the tech demo. It didn't give me any frames. It didn't do a thing in that respect. The next one down is shadows. Big deal in my mind. You may disagree. That's fine. Shadows hit your graphics super hard. And you want to avoid that, right? So do you really need shadows? Is it going to make or break your gameplay for the day? And this isn't even a game. Is it going to break it? Probably not. It's just like the street lights. Don't really need them to drive the fire trucks and raise the ladders. Will it help later? Yeah, but we're not there yet. Turn it off. You should get a nice little bump in your frames, or get you out of lag, which is similar, but not always the same. So when I disable that, the next two, which is projection and cascades, really don't work because there's no shadows to project or cascade. The sliders, I've never touched them because I've just seen that they really don't do anything. Brightness is minimal, and the shadow distance, because I have shadows off, I have no clue. Why touch it? Because I've already turned shadows off. All right, these two check boxes here. Pretty important. This was dynamic lighting radiation enabled. Now I'm going to go to you can see the ambulance, and I'm going to uncheck this. Notice that it didn't do anything. And sometimes it's an immediate effect, and sometimes you have to apply and close. A lot of times I get it to apply before. It doesn't seem to be doing anything here, but those of you that are struggling, this is another place to give yourself as many frame rates as it will give you. The last one is the RealTime Mirrors enabled. That's the rear view mirrors on the vehicles. Turn it off, for crying out loud. It is really messing with graphics right this minute. Someday we'll be able to look in the rearview mirrors and see out, but I'm not even being able to use rearview mirrors in No Trip 112. So don't feel like you're getting messed over. It is what it is. So that's the changes that I would recommend you try. Not this fantastic, but this is what I have this game on now. Now, when I started this, I started at the highest resolutions. I actually got suggestion from my drivers and set everything pretty high to see what would happen. And frame rates, as you can imagine, were pretty bad. So I start lowering things slowly to see what I can get out of it. And when I'm just goofing around by myself, I drop this down to good. I don't need fantastic. It's minimal changes. Is it to the point where you can't see what you're doing? Absolutely not. Good is really nice. You can get good frames per second and actually makes pretty good video. I do lighten it a little bit in the my video editor, but sorry, my phone went off. I swear to God, as soon as I start recording, everybody sends me stuff. Even if I tell them don't send me anything. That's okay. So I use good a lot. Gives me enough frame rates to get all the fire engines on the scene of a fire. It allows me to get quite a few ambulances and the EMS supervisor out, a couple of police cars, that kind of thing. And I can still function. And then, like in one of my videos where I lined up all the fire engines and took some pictures, that's where, when you get everything all set up the way you want, then bump it up to fantastic and take your screenshots, because it'll be at the best resolution. Those are the ones that you can use for thumbnails or pictures off to the side, or if you post pictures on Steam, because it'll be the best resolution. And you can claim you ran the game on it if you want, because when the people see the photos, they'll be the nicest that they're going to be. But otherwise, drop this down. You're not doing anything but making it easier on yourself mentally to make it harder on your computer to render this tech demo. So start low, work your way high, or start high and work your way down. There is a sweet spot for almost every computer. There are some, and I see them on the forums, some more got added today, where they simply do not have enough minimum hardware to run this tech demo at any setting. That happens. A lot of people assume that a 2-year-old computer will still be up with technology. That is rarely the case anymore. Look how fast graphic cards are coming out. When I got my 980 Ti, it was the top of the drawer, and now the 1080s are up there for what this used to be price-wise, and they function better. And it's only been a year. So that's how quickly things go. But also realize that if somebody bought you a computer or you got one as a gift, and those people don't play games, they probably didn't buy a computer that could do everything that even the box says you can do. Don't ever be fooled by that. Ask questions. The questions about this on the forums always gets good answers. It's where people make assumptions up front and almost shoot themselves in the foot that sometimes people kind of overlook them because it's like they don't deserve a response. And it's actually smarter to say nothing than it is to go full rage on somebody over this, because they're not listening to you anyway. Save yourself a lot of grief. So anyway, we're at 31 minutes. I kind of added this in to cover a few things. Notice that I'm at 100 frames per second right now. Now, I'm not driving. There's no traffic on the street. So don't take anything by this other than there are potentials out there. But if I start adding vehicles and start the traffic and start driving around, my frame rates are going to drop way off. So, but it's a good opportunity to try these things out, see if they work for you, if they don't. If you are having issues and you go through this and you find that you actually can see the tech demo, if nothing else, let me know in the comments. There are other things to try in addition to this. This is just kind of like the first phase of trying to drill down and find out exactly why your particular computer, because everybody's computer is a little bit different, can or cannot do anything with this tech demo in its current state. This is not a game. It's not fully optimized. It's not perfect. It's not going to play like the final version of the game. Trust me on that. They would be the first game maker of all the ones I've got. And I have, 28 on my computer, and I have access to another 30. All of them have had their issues, but when they were released final, they might have had a few updates, but they were as good as they were going to get. And if you keep that in the back of your head, hopefully it'll make it easier for you just to relax and let things happen. That being said, thanks again so much for coming by the channel. I really appreciate it. Please leave your comments, questions, or anything in regards to this particular video. I'll be right on it and help you out any way I can. If you don't have any questions or anything like that, thumbs up or thumbs down if you could, just to let me know whether I did a good job on the video or if I did a terrible job and I need to remake it. That all said, hope you're having a great day, great evening, wherever you're on the planet. Regardless of whether it's day or night where you're at, hopefully the day's going good for you so far and into the evening. You know and I know we'll see each other in the next video, which at the rate we're going seems to be like every day. And I wish you all the best for the day and take care.